And I want to welcome you to another episode of Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. Today, I want to talk to you about a new law that has been enacted in Ghana. This one is issued from the Senior Lands Administration Office at the Lands Commission. And so what they talked about was how if you have land and you're inactive on the land for up to 12 years, they're classifying that now as abandonment. It doesn't matter if you own it. If you do not do anything to your land over a 12-year period, they're classifying it as abandonment. And one thing that the lands administrator stressed is that someone can squat. If there's someone that's on your land for even as little as 7 years, they can take dibs. They can claim it's theirs. So it says the land administrator stressed that by law, a squatter can claim ownership of one's land after staying on it for 12 years, a situation she described as adverse possession. She also cautioned landowners to be wary of abandoning lands at the risk of losing them. So this is egregious on so many levels, because where the native can stay on top of their land, go back and forth, build a small structure, start some crops easily, the diasporan, who many times is coming back and forth, sometimes has come once or twice and is trusting and sending money back to have the land maintained, becomes extremely vulnerable in this deal. Very, very vulnerable. So the other piece to what she said was, if you have a land and you allow a squatter to continuously live on it for 12 years without any protest from the owner, the laws of Ghana give the squatter the option to adversely possess the land and claim ownership. So the squatter may stay there and not do nothing, but the squatter can always wake up one day and say, you know what, I've been here a long time. This here, as far as I'm concerned, is mine. She added that this was per the Limitations Act. Any landowner who doesn't exercise acts of possession, and the acts of possession are described as visiting the land frequently, productively using the land for a period of 7 years, can be deemed to have abandoned the land. Now, I know people who are so proud that they own land, and they have decided that, they came one time, they bought their land, they went back, and they've decided that, when I retire, I'm going to come to my land. Where it's looking like, if you make that type of decision, if you put off doing something with your land, somebody can take the land. And they're referring to it as abandonment. And so what they say is abandoned property refers to any personal property left by an owner who has intentionally relinquished all rights to its control. When a property is intentionally abandoned, it belongs to no one until it is found. How are you finding something that I bought? How are you finding something that I don't consider lost? Where do we get this from? This reminds me of the famous question that was asked of the Ugandans on a test. Who discovered the Nile River? It ain't you. We was already standing here. This is the same question that the Native Americans deal with every year. Did Columbus discover? How are you discovering something and there were whole generations of people there? You're not discovering anything. She noted that people usually abandon their lands because they intend to build a dream home or make massive investments on their newly acquired lands, which they don't have the funds to immediately do. So they know that people get stuck. They know that these are usually financial hiccups why people haven't completed or haven't done anything with their land. And so instead of working with them, they're giving people an opportunity to not only squat on them, but to squat and claim them. And they're going to back them. She explained that in order to avoid the potential injustice of squatters obtaining ownership via adverse possession, landowners must exercise their right of ownership by practicing acts of possession. So acts of possession mean you doing everything possible to make something happen on this land. You're renting the land, you're cultivating crops on the land, you're building a small structure on the land. You have to show some movement on this land. or they're going to take your land. And they're going to take it. It says people don't do due diligence when acquiring or buying land, and this leads to multiple sales amidst other problems. And in her view, people should consult the Commission's Client Service Access Unit and speak to the people on the ground before initiating the process of the purchase of land. This is another reason to put great thought into buying land in Ghana. I was absolutely shocked when I saw the article. It was forwarded to me. I read it and I said, I know at least 3 people who have acquired land here. Many of them are tying up loose ends on the other side of the world, but they have every intention of doing something with their land. And the complexity about squatting, sometimes you don't even know that somebody is squatting on your land. You don't even know that somebody has been living in the lower part of a building or a room. This is even true in the U.S. We've had people living in abandoned homes, going back and forth in homes. Sometimes we knew they was in there, and sometimes we did not. But the idea that this law would empower a squatter, that someone who never put any effort toward the land could simply wait you out. They literally could watch you come and go and be on the land, and all of a sudden take dibs just because you don't have the finance or you don't have the team to really get your project started like you want to. These are the type of things that you have to keep abreast of. I've never seen anybody empower squatters. I really haven't. And we have something that allows for squatters' rights in the U.S., but it's rarely enforced, and it's usually with abandoned buildings that are next to pretty viable homes. And so it's a way for the community to uplift itself again by not letting that property sit there. This is deep stuff. So I'm sharing it with you as for your information. It's pretty important to know, and we're going to see where this goes. Now I can tell you the natives are not happy about this. The Ghanaians they consider this horrible. There is no celebration around this. So I expect some pushback. But at this point, who's really vulnerable, and I'm sharing this, who's really vulnerable is the person. And there are many who come back and forth, who come and send money back, who really believe they have time on their hands. And you can see 7 years a squatter can get you, and even longer, but by 10 or 12, you're out. You've been listening to Beyond the Surface Radio. This is your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. And until we meet again, be safe in God's grace.